although I've managed to get to my current age without having any serious complications, but as you get older, things tend to build up, and for me not like with a celiac person who's very intolerant of gluten. My things have built up over time, and so I can eat something and not really notice a difference. It's the buildup of things. So if I have a lot of wheat and a lot of caffeine, I notice the difference. But it's the damage that I've done internally that I didn't know was being done, which then causes things like reflux and not being able to have high FODMAP or high acid making foods, which is a very long list of all the foods you would normally eat.
Hey, welcome back. It's Pat Mesede's best-selling author podcast. Linda Hollis is here, and Linda is a co-author with Pat in the book called Live with Purpose. And Linda is an expert in all things dietary. She's an advocate for navigating gluten-free, dairy-free, and egg-free diets. And she herself has had a personal struggle with food intolerances and health issues, but she discovered some effective dietary solutions that you may have heard of and not used, or even new ones that you haven't heard of completely. And her website is gfdfefalternatives.com. And Linda encourages you to embrace healthier, delicious alternatives. So we're here to explore this world of flavorful possibilities that also goes along with reclaiming your health. So Linda, glad to be speaking with you.
Hello, good morning. For me, it's good morning anyway.
Yeah,
Where are you?
and it is evening for me, and then when someone's listening, it might be mid-afternoon, who knows what. But either way, we're here to dish out, pun intended, some of these nutritious facts and figures and advice. And so tell us what you're all about. What should we know about gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free diets?
The biggest thing I found when I realised that all of those three things were real staples in my diet was the fact that you can buy gluten-free, you can buy dairy-free. It's trickier with egg-free because you've got to look at all of the ingredients more often. But to find things that are all three is quite difficult, because even things like gluten-free bread, when you buy it off the shelf, the early versions of the gluten-free bread have added egg white. Now, who would think that egg white was in bread? So just little things like that I found tricky. And I thought, well, it is hard to navigate. And then what do you eat? If everything in your cupboard has gluten or egg powder or dairy powder in the mix, and what do you use as alternatives? How do you have bacon and eggs in the morning, on a Sunday morning or something like that? So it was good finding alternatives, and it actually changed my diet in a good way. I still I've done a 90-day really restrictive diet, which I'm over now. So now I can introduce some of those things slowly, but not go back to them as a staple. So instead of being a person that has tea and toast every morning and crackers every lunchtime with maybe cheese and other things on them, I've got to get away from that standardizing of meals. So I've learnt some new things that I can eat instead and make instead, and where to buy things. So it's good.
Well, wonderful. And so I already have some questions. So when you think about changing up your diet, you wonder, well, it gives you a new exciting adventure, breaks up the routine. Maybe you take things out of your diet and see if your health improves or if you feel better, and you put things back in. And this is just me kind of spitballing and making things up as a layperson. But am I on the right track here? Are these reasons to go on this journey?
It was for me, although I've managed to get to my current age without having any serious complications. But as you get older, things tend to build up, and for me not like with a celiac person who's very intolerant of gluten. My things have built up over time, and so I can eat something and not really notice a difference. It's the buildup of things. So if I have a lot of wheat and a lot of caffeine, I notice the difference. But it's the damage that I've done internally that I didn't know was being done, which then causes things like reflux and not being able to have high FODMAP or high acid making foods, which is a very long list of all the foods you would normally eat, but there is also another list that you can have that isn't acid making as much. So, but the cause of those things was the dairy for me, the casein, not the lactose in the dairy products. And I had no idea about the egg white. So I've burnt my esophagus, which means I can get more reflux and damage where it shouldn't get damaged, and that can cause cancer. So it's more a case for me of being aware now that I am causing damage, that I get inflammation type symptoms when I start back. If I have a heavy week, going back, I haven't got any of my bread, or I haven't got any of my milk, or I'll eat that cake and those biscuits and those things, and I start getting bad symptoms. So I know not to do that now. And if I keep my cupboard and my fridge stocked with things that are gluten, dairy, egg free, then when I open the cupboard, it's not like, oh, what am I going to eat? I can have, instead of having toast or bread, sometimes I'll have lettuce. Like I'll have a cos lettuce leaf with all the things, the bacon and the tomato relish, and sometimes avocado, sometimes an egg replacer you can make scrambled eggs but without the eggs, which is really good. So I can have most of those things, and you can buy the bread now, and it's getting better. There's much better varieties out there now. So they're just a bit expensive, but there's only me eating them. So,
Right. So you figured a lot out. And that kind of what you just said there leads me to my next kind of questioning, where someone might say, okay, this sounds interesting and something that I want to try on my own. But then they think, well, do I like mix ingredients by myself? Do I go to the store? Are there do's and don'ts? Like I imagine that if someone's not careful and they get like super artificial bread replacement, then maybe it's like even more unhealthy. So what should someone be looking to do and get, as far as like, is there like specific ingredients that you look for or don't look for when you're looking for these replacements?
it depends. So let's say with pasta, you've got some really good pastas that taste like pasta that are made from rice, quinoa. There are some that are made with buckwheat that are grainy, but it's really a trial and tasting and seeing which shops have the better value for money. So I do like Aldi for the pasta, because I like their rice and quinoa one. So things like that. You might have to repeat the question in a minute. I tend to go off on a tangent, but yeah, the things like taco, the taco shells, the corn taco shells, and then you've got rice wraps and corn wraps. You can buy things like that, but I do find you have to read the ingredients a lot, looking for extra flour or extra dairy powder. Like chips, I don't buy crisps chips. The depends on where you live as to what you call them. I'm English, so I call them crisps. They have, especially the cheese flavoured variety, they'll have lactose in there, or a dairy powder of some sort, or they'll have onion powder, which is the high FODMAP again. So that's acid making. So even packets of chips, so you could make your own. A lot of people have the dryers now. And when you make things yourself, you can minimize those ingredients. And there's so much on the internet. There's lots of gluten-free things, lots of egg-free things, and experiment with your own. I have a favorite cake mix. It's 444 and 2 is how I remember it, but it's imperial ounces, so it's the English ounces. So you have to convert that, but I've got an old-fashioned scale. 4 of flour, 4 of butter, and 2 eggs. So I have to change the flour for gluten-free flour, change the eggs for an egg replacer. So you can buy an egg replacer, or Grand do a really good egg replacement brand. It's the white one that you can use for meringues and cakes and things like that. But even better is a can of chickpeas. You tip out the water and whisk up the water and make it sort of like a meringue kind of whisk, so it's really fluffy, and you put that in your cakes. And if they don't rise very well, then you make small cakes, the little patty pancakes. So I've just experimented. Um,
Well,
and the less
fun.
ingredients you put in, the better. Then you know, then you can say, okay, I've had a couple of days where I've had this particular thing, and it's affecting me. I think it might be that that's affecting me. Then you can go off it. So the less ingredients you have to worry about, the more you can monitor what you're actually doing and what might be causing effect or helping you. So
Right. And have more control over it. And I
yeah,
just love this kind of experimentation mindset that you're talking about, where it can be a fun little hobby, right? Some people collect stamps or coins, but if you're looking to do something fun with your time, why not just and like switch out some of these maybe pre-packaged sort of foods that you buy and make your own? That way you can switch out different ingredients, you can
yeah,
experiment, and this
exactly.
might even lead to more variety, because I don't know about you, Linda, but sometimes when you're like a kid and a teenager, you buy certain foods and certain brands. Like, I mean, say even like brands of pasta sauce, right? You're a
Mm,
kid, they taste one way. And then when you get older, maybe
yeah,
they substitute some ingredients or the company gets bought out and like doesn't quite taste the same. And then sometimes I tell my wife, like, hey, can you like make the pasta sauce yourself from scratch to kind of get back to the good old days, right? Or get
yeah,
back to what I like and not be at the whims of whatever like cheap substitutions some companies making, and who knows how healthy it is. And so what interests me here is that, sometimes people will say, well, I don't want to get on a diet because then I'll eat I'll give up like my favorite foods, or I'll eat foods that are bad. But then from hearing your story here, people might actually go on a path of eating new and different foods, right? They might add on to the variety,
yeah.
and they might find that they enjoy something new. And so in your journey, I mean, what kind of new foods have you discovered, or like new styles and new ways of preparing food?
I think sauces and mayonnaises for me are a big thing because I hate bland food. So uh, I make sure that in my cupboard I've got corn flour for thickening. I've got the 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 vegan bio type cheeses. Don't last very long. They only last for about a week. So if you're not going to use it up quickly, I'll freeze it. So I keep frozen a grated tasty cheese. You can have a mozzarella type cheese, and you can have the parmesan type cheese as well. So it lasts longer. I've got it in my freezer, and I might have some fresh that I've got open that I'm having every day, or not every day, but say for work, for lunch, or whatever, sliced cheese, fake cheese. So I'm trying to replace things that I already enjoy. Um, but the sauces. So when I'm shopping, I'm looking at, say, let's say I wanted to buy chicken shashliks, or chicken, the the chicken with a nice sauce on it on the sticks. So, or even the beef ones. But the sauce has gluten in it usually, and lots of other flavors and enhancers and things like that. So um, you can buy little pots of Indian um, sauces that you could then mix down with a bit of corn flour to get the flavor that you want, say like a satay, and you just check the ingredients, make sure there's no wheat flour. But they tend to have things like um, coconut milk, coconut cream in them. Have coconut jars of coconut um, milk. Sorry, it's cans of coconut milk and coconut cream for mixing. So when you want a creamy, cheesy white sauce, you would use your coconut milk or your oat milk or your soy milk, whichever thing that you were able to eat, um, and the corn flour, and you mix your own herbs, spices, and Indian sauces into them. So if you've got enough of that stuff in the cupboard, you can make any flavour you like. Same with gravy. There's gluten-free gravies available, but you can use your stock from the meat, say the roast you've cooked or the stew you've cooked. Skim off the fat, mix up in a little pot with your gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free flavors. So yeah, I make a lot of stews lately because it's been winter. So I'll take out the mixture, put it in a pot, a little cold water to mix up your corn flour, mix that in with the hot stock, or even vegetable stock from vegetables. Then you've got a nice gravy.
That is cool. This
Mm.
seems like an essential adulting life skill, just to be able to whip something up almost like a chemist and say, hey, I'm really hungry for this. Let me add these ingredients. Let me make this happen. And so, in all of your adventures here of
Mm.
trying out new foods. Was there anything that came out really badly? Like you mentioned a little bit earlier about like sometimes things don't mix well, or maybe the cake doesn't rise. But have you
Yeah.
ever made something and you expected it to taste great and it just tasted awful?
Some mayonnaise I tried recently to for photographs for my webpage. I was trying to make some mayonnaise. I did make a good mayonnaise afterwards. I think I used the aquafaba, which is the chickpea water, but I tried to do that with the egg replacer, and it sort of separated. And I probably didn't do things in the right order, which might have been part of the reason it separated, but it wasn't very good. But there are really nice vegan mayonnaises on the shelf now, so depends on where you live. If you're in the country or somewhere where you've only got a small shop, it would be difficult. But if you had things in the cupboard you could use, if you always keep your tins of your tins of chickpeas handy. So I'll give you an example of what I cooked recently. So I needed the aquafaba to make the mayonnaise. I actually used another lot in some cake to make the cakes rise. I did the little patty pans, little mini cakes with the icing on top. So the little patty pan ones. That way, they're going to rise. Or you fill them up to the height you want. If you don't think they're going to rise well, you just fill them up to the height you want, and they're still lovely and fluffy. That 4 ounces and two egg replacement kind of two replacement things for eggs, which was which is what I mentioned earlier. Anyway, um, so I did that, and then I used the chickpeas and made hummus, a nice garlicky hummus. So that was basically lemon juice. I always have tahini as a spread, and the chickpeas and lemon juice. Then I had opened another tin of that. So what did I use that for? Oh, the aquafaba chickpea I used in a sauce with my gluten-free, the corn flour, because some corn flours are actually wheaten based, even though it says corn flour. I used the vegan cheeses and my oat milk, and I made a really nice cheese sauce. So then I made a lasagna with gluten-free lasagna sheets. So I sort of had leftover. Oh, and that's right. And the stock that I had from a stew, I used that instead of some of the water as well. So in my sauce. So you just have to think ahead a little bit. I'm using this. What else can I use it for? And keep that in the fridge, and then use it the next day.
Amazing. They call that meal planning, right? Just
Yeah,
this idea of instead of wasting all this money every single day at the grocery store, and instead of running out of room, you say, hey, let me reuse for this meal and for that
yeah.
meal and for that ingredient. And it can be a lot of fun. And you mentioned about your website a little bit about sometimes you post pictures or you post recipes about what you've created. So tell us about that. What's the website and what's on it?
It's very new, as is my Facebook page as well. Very similar. Uh, Basically, it's a way of sharing what I've learnt with other people, and I'm inviting other people to get on there and have a look at what I've done, and maybe they can get some ideas. If they go to the Facebook page, they can share their ideas as well. So I've got a few recipes. I didn't want it to be a big recipe book page, like have a big recipe book page and have the whole thing about recipes. I just wanted to give people an idea where to buy things, what type of things to look out for, what you can use as substitutes, a few meal ideas, and just the basics. There's one recipe page with a few basics like your sauces and your mayonnaise, a basic oat biscuit that's been around, a recipe that's been around for years. You just swap it out for the GF, DF, EF things. And then what was the other thing? Oh, the thing I couldn't do without is the chocolate. And I've learnt how to make gluten-free chocolate, the vegan chocolate, sorry, dairy-free chocolate, which is really, really good. But the problem is now, because there's been a disease in the cacao trees, the cacao butter is unavailable, or $100 a kilo. So a little free flip book I was going to release, probably isn't any good to anybody if you can't buy the cacao. butter.
Oh no.
Butter. Yeah. So
Until they get that supply chain issue solved, right?
that's it. So until the trees are regrown, but they have to be separated now, so that they have to have more distance apart, and then they've got to grow, and so it's going to be a bit of a shortage for a while. So I might have to put something else out. But I said to my naturopath, what am I going to do if I can't eat cheese and chocolate? I've already given up on the wheat based breads for the last few years, but how am I going to survive? And I did, and I found that because I'm not totally dairy intolerant, it's the casein. I can have butter because the butter doesn't have much in it. Honey has a tiny bit of casein in it. The I can't have goat cheese. Sorry, I can't. Yeah, it's goat and cow that's a problem. But I can have buffalo, and I discovered buffalo feta in a garlic and dill oil, and it is the best cheese I've ever had. It's like a feta but much creamier. But a lot of people won't be able to have that if it's lactose that they have a problem with, I guess. So yeah, there's been a few good discoveries, and that vegan cheese isn't that bad, and things like that.
It sounds like it, especially when you discovered the best cheese of your life. Like, I'm not even sure what cheese is the best cheese of my life. Maybe it's yet to happen. And so that alone is a reason to look into this sort of thing, right? Because like there's definitely value in having the awareness of where your food comes from, right? You
Mm.
think about, like you mentioned earlier, about like giving up some of their breakfast stuff. You think like, man, the orange juice comes from this part of the world, the bread comes from here,
Yeah,
the eggs come from there, the bacon comes from there. Like, it's amazing, this era that we live in, where like just all these things are grown and made and shipped to us from who knows how many miles, kilometers away,
yeah,
all to show up for us. And then everyone's different, but then the benefit of age and wisdom is that you figure out what your body likes and doesn't like, and what your
mm,
own tastes are and aren't. And if someone is just eating the same old bread and jam every day,
yeah,
or the same old package whatever from the store, then
yeah.
they're missing out
Toasting
on
chocolate.
the variety. And yeah, they're missing out on all the amazing kind of chocolate they could have if they're just having that same brand. So people need to look into this and pursue this as a hobby and a lifestyle change. And you mentioned about some of like this vegan stuff. You don't have to just completely go crazy and go completely vegan. You can
No,
just substitute some of these vegan items, and it might be healthier for you. It might taste better. And the only way to find out is to try, because everyone is unique. And that website is gfdfefalternatives.com. And then where is the Facebook page, and how can we find that?
what did I call that? Much the same. GFDFEF. I should have had that ready, shouldn't I? Um, I put it on my website, so it's on one of the pages. I think at the bottom of the one of the pages you should find it, or in my about. But it's on the website.
Okay, yeah. So it's on the bottom and it's on the sidebar. So go to gfdfefalternatives.com, and you can find that F logo, and you can find the Facebook link on the bottom. And
Hmm.
that's just a great thing to have on your radar. You go there, you go to the page, you click on like, and then now when you open Facebook, every now and then you'll see some posts, get some reminder of this new culinary adventure that you can and should embark on by just substituting foods, trying out new foods, seeing how you like it, seeing how it feels. And as we are wrapping up our conversation here, Linda, do you have any final words of advice if someone is maybe on the fence, or is there any like one last tip or just little, piece of information to share with us before we sign off?
Two small things. Definitely check out, not if you've seen your doctor and you're not happy with the advice from them. Also see a naturopath. I saw an iridologist and naturopath, which really helped me out. I got my blood tested so that I knew what products my antibodies were reacting to. And word of mouth as to where the best place to buy these things, because that's why the website and the Facebook page will be good, because I found out through word of mouth the best shop, like it was a Romeo's Foodland, which can be quite small, but there's a very large one not far from where I live, and it's got the biggest range of cheeses in the main area, and the biggest range of vegan and alternative cheeses in the fridge, the tall wall fridge section. and I discovered the coconut yogurt and things like that as well, and more of the bread. So I often go there, whereas other supermarkets won't have the things I'm looking for. So word of mouth is really good. I found this here. I know I've tried this, and it's a really good bread, really good, milk, whatever, like the oat milk or whatever. So yeah, it takes a while, but you ask around and check out people's reviews on Facebook and online.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
And over here, they call those health food stores, and they're just
Yes.
all over. But sometimes you don't normally know them or see them or go
Yeah.
into them. But then whenever I find them, then and I go in there, I see all these kinds of crazy
Mm.
things, crazy in a good way, right?
Yeah.
All kinds of different cheeses and meat substitutes, and sometimes I get them, and there's some winners and some
Mm.
losers, but it's always something different. It's always some kind of
Yeah.
variety, and it's interesting and exciting. So look into those sorts of stores, and you're also saying also look into a naturopath. That way you can kind of approach your health from a different angle and not just default
Yeah.
to the pills, the
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals. Some of those are important and life
Yep.
saving, but if you're just like not feeling good, then the naturopath angle and the changing up the diet, that seems logical enough
You're a
to
dietitian. Mm.
yeah, or dietitian. It's logical enough to just try these different avenues, and that way you're approaching it from more than one
Yeah.
straightforward brute force way. And so
Yes.
Linda
Yeah.
Hollis
Thank you.
from gfdfefalternatives.com. Any final words of advice or a quote or lesson, or is it just time to end this?
I just thought of something else. I did mention it on my website, but if you have a problem and you're causing inflammation, you're not digesting the vitamins and supplements you might be taking. You're not digesting all of the goodness from your food. So if you don't get it sorted, then that's why you get a lot of the problems, because you're not getting the vitamins that do the repair and help you recover from things. So you need to have your gut in balance, otherwise you're going to get sick.
Okay, so let's get our gut in balance. Let's get those vitamins digesting and working for us and feel better and happier and healthier and live a long, productive life. And the way to do that, the next step to get started is gfdfefalternatives.com. Linda Hollis, co-author with Pat Mesiti in the Live with Purpose book. It's been wonderful speaking with you.
Likewise. Thank you, Robert.